I discovered my parents secretly moved my sister into my apartment while I was away. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. I returned home, suitcase in one hand, excitement bubbling in my chest. My last few months overseas had been a whirlwind, and I craved the familiar comfort of my tiny, cluttered space. But when I stepped through the door, the atmosphere felt wrong. It was too quiet. The usual chaos of my unmade bed and scattered laundry was absent. Instead, there were murmurs, whispers echoing through the narrow halls. My heart raced. I dropped my suitcase, its weight thudding heavily on the floor, and walked further inside. That's when I saw her. My sister Eliza. In my kitchen. She stood there, frozen, as if she had been caught in the act of stealing my life. Her face lit up with a strange mixture of guilt and relief, like she'd just been found out playing a long-hidden game. "Hi, Lila," she said, her voice barely a whisper. What was happening? I rubbed the back of my neck, the tension coiling there as I struggled to understand. "What are you doing here?" I gasped, the shock burning my throat. My thoughts raced, spinning through confusion, hurt, betrayal. Why hadn't anyone told me? My parents were supposed to be on a trip far away from here. I glanced past Eliza, expecting to see them hiding, but the room was empty. Silence consumed the air, thick like a storm looming overhead. "Mom and Dad thought it would be good for us," she replied, her eyes darting to the floor tiles. There was something unspoken, a veiled truth buried under her words. My stomach twisted as I felt the weight of that unarticulated, heavy secret pressing against me. I stepped closer to her, my pulse pounding in my ears. "Good for us?" I echoed, incredulous. Every syllable dripped with disbelief. "You mean good for you? You moved in without telling me?" God, Eliza, how could they let this happen? I stumbled backward, every heartbeat echoing alarm. Eliza's expression changed. She looked fragile, like a porcelain doll on the brink of shattering. "They thought you wouldn't mind, they thought it would help me," she murmured. The words slipped out, barely audible. I stood there, feeling the temperature drop, as if I were standing on thin ice. My mind raced. What help? The help she needed was miles away, where I had left my life behind. And I had just opened the door to her chaotic journey without my consent. My haven turned into her escape. I could barely breathe, panic clawing at my chest. This wasn't just surprising. It was outrageous. How could they? I felt betrayed, angry tears welling up in my eyes. I wanted to scream, to let out the swirl of emotions crashing inside me. I couldn't find the words. They were tangled like the cords of my headphones. Suddenly, I noticed something out of place. A cardboard box sat on the kitchen counter, half open. It bore my name, Lila, written on it in hurried strokes. My breath caught. What else did they do? I thought, an icy dread creeping into my veins. What other secrets had they bottled up and shoved into my life while I was gone? In that instant, everything felt foreign. My apartment, my sanctuary, had become a battleground. I was in shock, swimming in a confusion that clouded my thoughts. Just then my phone buzzed. I snatched it up. Desperate for a lifeline, a message from my mom appeared on the screen. "We need to talk." I dropped the phone, horror crashing down upon me like an avalanche. What else was lurking beneath the surface? What was left untold in this twisted family drama? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The air thickened around me. It felt as if I was trapped in an emotional fog where each breath was a struggle against the weight of bewilderment. Every thought raced through my mind like wildfire, and the implications of Eliza's presence loomed large and ominous. Help you? Help you how? I felt the desperate need for answers clawing at me, every word unraveling from my lips with an urgency that belied my composure. Eliza's eyes filled with tears. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, a small nervous gesture that made me elicit an involuntary pang of affection before anger surged forth again. "This isn't just about us," she said, a tremor in her voice. "Mom and Dad. They've been worried. They think I need a change. They thought if I came here we could be together. We could figure things out. Together? The word hung within the air like an echo mocking me. Figure things out? I repeated, disbelief coating my words. By uprooting my life? The betrayal dug deeper, like a knife that threatened to split us both. Lila, please. They were trying to help. She pleaded, and for a moment, the sister I had grown up with flickered beneath the weight of her fear. That little girl who used to chase butterflies in the park. The one who always relied on me. I could feel her vulnerability, her loneliness, but it was intertwined with my own pain. I couldn't hold back a harsh laugh. Help. This isn't help, it's chaos. But beneath my anger, a smaller voice nudged me, urging me to look not just at Eliza, but at my parents. This had been their idea, their decision to undermine my autonomy. Suddenly, an instinct to protect my sister flickered through the haze of frustration. Where are they? Mom? Dad? I asked, my voice dropping. I needed to confront them, needed clarity. Eliza shrugged, her shoulders curling inward. They're out again. They'll be back later. Something told me that those errands hadn't been casual. I felt a knot of dread grip at my stomach as I imagined my parents darting around town, possibly avoiding my calls, perhaps desperately warding off my return to reality. The weight of the cardboard box seemed to pull me toward it, and I took a step closer, fear mingled with curiosity. I hesitated but could almost feel the contents begging for revelation. If they'd intruded so boldly into my life, perhaps I had a right to see what they left behind. Lila, Eliza whispered, a tremor in her voice. Just, please don't. She stepped closer, a mix of anger and pleading in her expression. That moment of uncertainty was shattered when suddenly, the front door swung open, and my parents walked in, a fresh wave of tension sliding into the atmosphere. Their faces were drawn, eyes searching, as if they were stepping into a minefield. Lila! Mom exclaimed, half a second too late to mask the obvious shock that rippled through her. I felt anger bubbling once more. What is going on? I demanded, the words cutting through the air like shards of glass. I glanced at Eliza, who stood frozen like a deer in the headlights, reflecting back my own turmoil. Lila, we can explain, my father started, but anger surged through me before he could finish. Explain? You uprooted my life without asking. You can't just decide that for me. I deserve to know what's going on. At that moment Eliza stepped forward, her voice shaky. They thought I would be safe here, she said, her eyes pleading. I needed you, Lila. I thought you would understand, and suddenly, like standing on a precipice, I saw another truth stirring somewhere beneath the anger we wielded at each other. A longing for connection, for sisterhood. But the conflicts buried under childhood memories and parental expectations felt insurmountable. Safe. The sorrow trembled in my voice, betraying me. From what? Before Eliza could respond, my mother inhaled sharply, glancing at my father with an urgency that spoke volumes. We should talk. About everything. There are things you don't know. The words hung heavy in the air, and a sudden intuition gripped me, a premonition that whatever truths were waiting in the shadows were about to turn the very foundation of my world upside down. Danger lurked in the unspoken, and I felt myself teetering on the edge of understanding, staring down at a darkness I could no longer ignore. As I braced myself for the impact of their revelations, the phone buzzed again on the counter, the screen lighting up with a single message that hadn't been there before. My name flashed across it, and I could almost feel the world hold its breath in anticipation. I stepped back, reaching for the phone, drawn into dread and hope in equal measure. Would the answer finally bring clarity? Or would it plunge us all deeper into the chaos? The phone felt heavy in my trembling hand, its screen glowing ominously with the notification. My name stared back at me, an intrusion breaking through a fragile moment of reckoning. I glanced at my parents, whose faces mirrored the mix of worry and guilt that clouded the room, then shifted to Eliza, whose eyes flickered between anxiety and hope. I could feel the thick tension stretching around us like a taut string, ready to snap. As I opened the message, I was unprepared for the words that collided with my thoughts. Lila, we need to talk. I know about everything. The sender's name, Cassie, my closest friend, suddenly felt like both a lifeline and a shackle. Who's that? Eliza asked, her voice cutting through the uncertainty. The fear in her eyes danced with curiosity. I swallowed hard, each breath tightening my chest. It's Cassie. My voice came out barely above a whisper. Mom's gaze sharpened, a flicker of alarm crossing her features. Lila, don't respond. Not yet, she cautioned, her tone a mixture of authority and desperation. With the weight of my family's expectations pressing down on me, I hesitated. What exactly did Cassie know? Had she seen something? But the urgency in her message ignited a spark of rebellion within me. I have to see what she wants, I replied defiantly. Ignoring the warning look my mom shot me, I tapped the screen, hastily typing back. What do you know? Seconds stretched into an eternity as I waited for her reply, every heartbeat echoing in my ears, the atmosphere around us thickening more with each tick of the clock. Eliza walked closer, and for the first time, I noticed the dark circles under her eyes. The girl I'd known was drowning beneath the weight of something I could only guess at. What did she say? Eliza's voice was barely a whisper, the vulnerability pouring out of her. Before I could answer, a soft ping resonated from my phone, and I barely glanced at the message before looking up at my parents. I'm sorry, you need to hear this. I won't let you get involved in more chaos, Mom said, anxiety lacing her voice as she reached for the phone. Whatever's happening, we can handle it as a family. Handle it as a family? I replied, disbelief rising like bile. What's been happening feels anything but family-oriented. Moving Eliza here, controlling my life, that's chaos. My father sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose, looking like he was battling a storm inside him. Lila, please just listen. This is about protecting you both. There are reasons we had to do this. Reasons? What? I demanded. What could possibly justify this? Because right now it feels like nothing but betrayal. Before they could respond, another notification chimed on my phone. I glanced down, dread settling in. A new message from Cassie. Megan's worried about you, Lila. She knows something's not right. Come meet me at my hands trembled, blood rushing to my head. A flood of anxiety crashing over me. Where did Megan fit into all this? She'd been a part of our small circle. Someone who understood the pressure of our parents more than anyone. She wants to meet, I said, voice wavering, urgency clawing at my chest. I think she knows something about Eliza. Panic flickered in my mom's eyes. You can't go. Not now. That I took a step backward, every withdrawal heightening the volume of chaos that surrounded me. My very foundation felt like it was crumbling. You can't keep control over my life, Mom. I need to find out what's happening. I have to talk to Cassie. Suddenly between us, Eliza took a bold step. I'm coming with you, she said, determination lifting her chin. I might as well face what's happening head on too. I can't keep running. Run. I echoed, my heart clenching at the thought of not just my sister, but also what my parents were trying to shield us from. Is that what this is about? Then with shock and resolve, Eliza's voice cut through the haze of uncertainty. No more secrets, Lila. We deserve the truth. The gravity of her words sent a shiver through me. The uncharted waters of our family were terrifying, but I felt a flicker of hope amid the dark. Her willingness to stand by my side was a lifeline in the sea of confusion. But before I could respond, the phone buzzed again in my hand, another message lighting up the screen. This one sent chills down my spine. Cassie's words burned into my soul. You need to trust me, Lila. It's bigger than you think. And with that, I knew we were standing on the brink of deeper revelations, wrestling with truths I was not ready to face. As I looked at my sister, the question loomed: was the truth going to be our salvation, or would it tear us apart even more? The cliff of uncertainty gaped below us, and we stood on the edge, prepared to leap into the unknown. The air between us crackled with tension, each unsaid word heavier than the last. My heart raced, a relentless drum pounding in my chest as I contemplated Cassie's next words. What could be wider than the secrets our family already harbored? My thoughts spiraled out of control, only to be pulled back by Eliza's fierce gaze. I'm going with you, Lila, she reaffirmed, her voice steady and certain, contrasting the storm of uncertainty churning within me. Somehow her presence brought a spark of courage, ignite a reassurance we were both desperately seeking. Okay, I conceded, unable to shake the grip of dread that tightened around my throat. But if we're doing this, we need to stay close to each other, and take whatever comes next together. Together. The word hung between us, a fragile promise that both terrified and comforted me. I turned back to my parents, still conjuring expressions of fear and hesitation, searching for approval amidst their distrust of our decision. I could see the struggle etched on my mother's face. Love clashed with her instinct to shield us from whatever awaited Lila. "Please," Dad started, but I cut him off, the resolve bubbling up within me refusing to be silenced. "I am sorry, but I need to know the truth. Not just for myself but for Eliza too." I glanced at her, a twinge of unspoken understanding passing between us. With a nod we crashed through the door, leaving behind the suffocating weight of our home, and the fear reflected in our parents' eyes. The night air was crisp, a briskness that contrasted sharply with the chaos gnawing at my insides. Eliza walked beside me, her presence a steadying force as we made our way to the coffee shop where I'd agreed to meet Cassie. Each step felt heavier as the night wrapped its cool arms around us. The streetlights cast long shadows, and every blink of a passing car pulled at the edges of my anxiety. We arrived and I paused, hesitating for just a moment on the threshold. "Do you think what we find will change things?" Eliza asked, fear flickering behind her eyes, vulnerability cutting through her brave facade. I considered her question. What would it mean to uncover the truth? Would it bridge the rifts or ignite new ones? "I guess we have to find out," I said softly, my acceptance laced with fear and resolve. Inside, Cassie was already seated at a corner table, her hands wrapped around a steaming mug, urgency radiating from her like heat waves. "You came," she exclaimed as we approached. "That I have to know what you know," I said, my voice firm but trembling. "What does Megan think? Why does anyone care?" Cassie looked between Eliza and me, the weight of whatever she'd been holding back compressing the air around us. "You both have to understand. This isn't just about you. There are deeper things at play. Things I can't even fully grasp yet. Megan is worried about both of you because she senses you're being watched." A chill raced down my spine. Was I truly living under the gaze of someone or something that threatened our little world? Watched? By who? Eliza interrupted, her voice a sharp whisper. "I don't know," Cassie admitted, eyes darting as if weaving through a web of her own. "But there have been whispers, merely rumors, that there's a connection between your family and the bigger circles in town. Something that might explain why you were kept apart." The implications of her words echoed dramatically in the stillness. A connection? Between our family and what? I turned my gaze to Eliza, her face pale as she absorbed the weight of the revelation. Secrets seemed to bleed outward like ink into water, swirling around us in a tumult of chaos and fear. "I think we need to find Megan," I said tautly, forcing the words past the knot in my throat. "We need to piece this together, or it will drown us both." "I'll text her," Cassie responded, her fingers flying over the keys of her phone. There was a moment of shared silence, where the worry in the air morphed into a tangible force. Fear, curiosity, frantic hope all mingling. Then, my phone buzzed unexpectedly in my pocket, and I pulled it out to see a message. From my mother. "Lila, wait. Please just listen. There's something you must know about all of this." My heart dropped, a mix of dread and emotion flooding my senses. "I can't keep running from the truth," I breathed, feelings of betrayal scraping against my heart. "But listening feels like it'll only lead us down a darker path." Eliza glanced at me, her eyes wide and frightened. What if they already knew that we'd come for the truth? I clenched my phone in my palm, uncertainty raging within me. My mission felt noble yet completely fraught. "Well, meet Megan first," I ensured, battling the loss of trust already creeping in, scrambling to keep the threads from snapping while hoping desperately for a guiding light. And just then, as if the universe had conspired against us, another message lit up the screen, one I never expected to see. "You need to stop digging, Lila. It's not safe." The breath froze in my lungs as I processed the gravity of that unmistakable warning, realizing it could shatter everything or lead us to ground zero of the truth. A truth that had been buried, and now threatened to explode everything we thought we knew, dropping us deeper into the abyss we so desperately sought to escape. The headlights of passing cars flickered like distant stars against the night sky, but nothing could obscure the shadows darkening my heart. I stared at my phone, the ominous text floating before my eyes. My mind spun, drowning in possibilities. Who could possibly want to silence me? What truth were they trying to bury? Eliza's hand touched my arm, an anchor in the storm of rising anxiety. "Lila, what does it say?" Her voice was woven with concern, but I could hear the tremor lurking beneath the surface. "It's a warning," I whispered in disbelief. "Someone wants me to stop digging." The weight of hysteria threatened to take hold, but I inhaled deeply, forcing myself to focus. We need to meet Megan now. No more distractions. Cassie, still standing by the table, nodded earnestly, the urgency clearly weighing on her. Okay, just keep your guard up, she advised quietly. Her eyes shifted occasionally, scanning the room as if the answer to our chaos lurked in the shadows. The walk to Megan's house felt interminable, footfalls echoing amid my swirling thoughts. What could my parents possibly know that they hadn't shared? And why had they felt the need to shelter me and Eliza from the truth? Each unanswered question felt like a tightening noose around my breath. As we neared her house, the familiar warmth of comforting light spilled from the windows, breaking the coldness of the night. I knocked lightly, my heart racing as adrenaline coursed through my veins. After what felt like an eternity, the door creaked open, revealing Megan's worried face, framed by an unkempt halo of curls. The moment she met my gaze, her expression shifted to one of unmasked urgency. "Lila, Eliza," she gasped, pulling us inside before looking over her shoulder, checking for unseen eyes. "You shouldn't be here. We need to talk, but it's not safe." "Something's going on, Megan," I insisted, words pouring out in a rush. "My parents, they're hiding things from us. We just found out about the connection, and there's someone watching us." Megan paled slightly as she ushered us into her living room. The warmth from the fireplace couldn't penetrate the chill setting in my bones. "I was afraid of this." Her voice dropped to a whisper, tension rippling through her. "There are forces at play, powers that want to keep your family's history hidden." "Why?" Eliza interjected, anxiety tinged with confusion clouding her features. "What do you mean? What do they want?" "They want to control the narrative," Megan replied, a flash of defiance igniting within her eyes. "Your family's ties run deep, deeper than either of you can imagine. It's tied to everything you care about, even your relationship with the town." She inhaled sharply, glancing again to the window. "What your parents did, moving your sister into your apartment, they had a reason. A protective instinct that I felt the air leave my lungs." "We need to find her," I stated firmly, a knot of determination forming in my chest. "She might be in danger." The revelation struck like lightning, illuminating the dark corners of my confusion. "Lila, we can't act rashly," Megan pleaded, placing a hand on my shoulder. "They've been keeping her safe for a reason. And if someone's watching you." A sudden commotion outside snapped my thoughts from the intricacies of danger to sheer raw fear, as we heard muffled voices and hurried footsteps approaching. The world shrank, closing around us. My heart pounded like a war drum as we retreated deeper into the shadows of the house, our breath stilled and bodies tense. "Stay quiet," Megan instructed, her tone slipping into the calm of leadership. "They might be looking for you, Lila." Suddenly, the front door burst open, the frame rattling under the force of interruption. 3 shadowy figures filled the doorway. My pulse quickened, panic threading through my veins like ice. I leaned into Eliza, both of us instinctively hiding behind a nearby couch while holding our breath. "Where is she?" The voice that rang out was unfamiliar, dripping with authority and malice. My stomach dropped as I instinctively recognized the tone, the one that came with urgency and fear. "Where's Lila?" The words felt like daggers, piercing through the already strained atmosphere. A shiver raced down my spine. They were searching for the truth I had dared to expose. That I exchanged a silent glance with Eliza. Where was this leading us? The riddle stretched out before us, but suddenly there was no more time for questions. As I locked eyes with Megan, fear intertwined with resolve. Outside, the chaos continued, a relentless pounding, searching for what they believed was theirs to reclaim. Someone would have to step forward into the fire, but it was too soon to know who would emerge from the shadows. That was when my phone buzzed again, an unexpected jolt as if the world had frozen. I pulled it out cautiously, every nerve alight. "Get out while you still can. They know where you are." A new wave of fear crashed over me, threatening to crush my resolve as I fell into the depths of uncertainty once more. I looked into Eliza's eyes, finding only a reflection of my own dread. How much longer could we keep running, and at what cost? The truth lay beyond the horizon, tantalizing and terrifying, as I braced for whatever next unfolded before us in the dark. As the chaos erupted outside, the shadows felt alive, swirling around us with the dark energy of uncertainty and fear. Megan's grip on my shoulder tightened, and I could sense her pulse racing, mirroring my own. If there was one thing I understood in that moment, it was that we were at a precipice, teetering over the edge of a dangerous revelation that threatened to consume us. "Get downstairs quickly," Megan urged, her voice a fierce whisper as she pulled us toward a narrow door tucked away in the corner of her living room. It was a basement, one I had never known existed in her house, and as we descended into the dimly lit space, I felt a chill envelop us, a stark contrast to the warmth above. Once inside, the door creaked shut behind us with a sense of finality, leaving us cloaked in darkness, illuminated only by the faint glow of a single bulb hanging from the ceiling. The air was thick and stale, a testament to secrets buried beneath layers of protection. I could hear Eliza's breaths, shallow and quick, as we stood in silence, listening to the sounds above, men shouting, furniture scrapping, the encroaching dread echoing heavily in our hearts. "Do you think they'll find us?" Eliza's voice barely broke through the silence, trembling with uncertainty. "We have to hope they won't," Megan replied, rummaging through a stack of boxes in the corner, her movements swift and methodical. "If they're looking for you, Lila, they don't know you're here." "Not yet. What are those people after?" I managed to ask, my voice a mix of anxiety and desperation. "They're searching for something, but what?" Megan paused, her expression shifting into something serious, almost grave. "They're not just searching for you. They're searching for the truth about your family. Your parents have guarded it fiercely, but it's like a dam about to break. They've hidden your sister away because she might hold pieces of that truth, pieces they would do anything to control." The sudden thought crashed into my mind. My parents moved her here, didn't they? To keep her safe from whatever this is? "The risks are higher than you can imagine," Megan replied, her tone steadfast yet laced with fear. "But you're too close to the surface now. It's why they're desperate." That I felt the weight of those words. My sister, the very essence of innocence caught in a storm of secrets I had yet to understand. "We have to find her," I insisted, the urgency rising, fighting against a creeping despair. "This isn't just about my family anymore. This is about everything we care about. The truth must come out." A flicker of hope sparked in Megan's eyes. "If we work together, we might be able to figure this out. We need to find the people your family has been protecting. They might have answers." But she hesitated, a storm of emotions crossing her face. "We have to be careful. We can't risk anyone finding out too soon." Those words hung in the air, a chilling reminder that while we had found safety for the moment, the danger was far from over. We needed a plan, and quickly, or we might be lost in the chaos of a truth the world wasn't ready to face. As the sounds above began to fade, replaced by an almost eerie silence, a soft glow began to emerge from my phone, lighting up the dark space in a flash. I lifted it, and the screen filled with another text, the weight of it striking me dumb. "Lila, you don't know it yet, but we're closer than you think. Trust no one." An overwhelming wave of fear crashed into my gut. What did it mean? Who could I trust? And who were they? My mind raced, a tumult of possibilities swirling uncontrollably as a slow dread settled in. Eliza leaned in closer, her expression masked in concern, searching my face for answers. "What is it?" I swallowed, struggling to find my voice. "I don't know if I can do this. What if I can't handle the truth? What if everything I thought I knew shatters?" Megan stepped closer, her gaze fierce and unwavering. "Then we will figure it out together. It's not just you in this anymore, it's all of us. Your sister Eliza, and even those you don't know yet. You're not alone in this." As newfound determination swirled within me, I felt a foundation of camaraderie stirring, a sense of connection amidst the uncertainty. But just as the darkness began to lift slightly, the door to the basement shook, the faint sound of footsteps creeping ever closer. We had little time. The clock was ticking, and if I didn't act now, everything I held dear could slip from my grasp. I turned to Megan, the urgency of the moment carving a path through the haze of fear. "We need to move now," I said, my voice growing steadier, fueled by a spark of resilience igniting within me. I refused to let them take this away, but just as I finished speaking, a figure appeared outside the small window of the basement, a blurred shadow against the dim light. My heart sank, recognizing the distinct outline of someone I hadn't expected, a face I knew but had thought I could trust. It was my mother, and she was looking right at me. The world around me crumbled as the realization washed over me. Confusion twisted my gut as I stared into the eyes of my mother, hidden behind the veil of shadows outside that small basement window. Her face, once a symbol of safety and love, now felt like a harbinger of disarray and betrayal. In that moment, every theory I had spun about why my family had moved my sister, why they had dragged her into a life of secrecy, suddenly lay shattered. Lila. Megan's sharp whisper broke through my daze, her eyes darting between the window and my stunned expression. It was clear she hadn't expected this revelation either. What's going on? Do you know her? The muffled voice from the other side of the door twisted deeper into my heart. Lila, it's me. Open the door. We have to talk. Her tone was frantic, tinged with desperation. I could almost feel her fear and regret permeating through the wood, wrapping around me like a suffocating blanket. What is she doing here? Eliza murmured fearfully, her wide eyes reflecting my own restraint. Anxiety tightened my chest, battling the familiar comfort of my mother's voice with a swirling sense of betrayal. She shouldn't be here, I croaked, my voice cracking under the weight of emotions roiling inside me. We're hiding where we're not safe. Megan interjected, eyes narrowing. If she's really here to help, then why didn't she bring the others with her? Why now, Lila? My mother's voice rose, urgency creeping in. We need to get out of here now. I can explain everything. Please. But what could she possibly say that would make sense of this mess? My heart raced as the urge to run surged within me, a deeply ingrained instinct to flee from danger. Yet my feet remained rooted in place. There was a sliver of hope swirling within me, battling fear. This could be the moment to unravel the web of secrets if she had the answers. Should we let her in? Eliza's voice trembled, the fear coursing through her palpable. What if she is part of it? My mother's face grew more desperate as she pressed closer to the window, a stark contrast to the shadows surrounding her. Trust me, Lila, she pleaded, trust me just this once. The conflict within me roared, battling the urge to let my mother in or shut her out entirely. The atmosphere thickened, our options painfully weighted. It would be so easy to succumb to the instinct to protect ourselves from whatever truth was waiting to unravel. But the truth, no matter how painful, was also our only lifeline. Lila, we have very little time. Megan broke through my thoughts, her voice low but firm. If you think she's here for you, then we need to act quickly. But if you think she represents a new danger, she trailed off, leaving the air thick with uncertainty. I glanced at Eliza, who seemed to hang on my every breath, and then back to Megan, whose unwavering strength reminded me I wasn't alone. In that moment I realized that whatever my mother had to say was essential. I needed answers for me, for my sister, and for Eliza, who deserved none of this chaos. Okay, I said, finally steeling myself against the fear gnawing at me. Well, let her in. But if things get out of control, we leave. No questions asked. Megan nodded, her expression hardening with resolve. I'll cover you. I took a deep breath, squared my shoulders and approached the door. The soft sound of footsteps above us faded into an unsettling quiet, the chaos temporarily retreating. I reached for the doorknob, hand trembling but determined. As I swung the door open, my mother entered, drenched in shadows yet illuminated by an urgency that seemed to thread lightning through her features. The moment our eyes met, the air thick with tension morphed into a charged silence. Her presence felt both comforting and terrifying, a paradox I couldn't grapple with. Lila, she whispered, her voice quivering. You need to understand. But before she could continue, the soft sound of footsteps echoed from the stairway above us. It was a familiar rhythm, a sound that fueled my fears and hopes simultaneously. I spun around, my heart lurching as I realized someone else had come. Down the stairs, a figure lurking in the dim light beyond the threshold. And then, just when I thought it couldn't get more complicated, a chilling voice emerged from the shadows, stealing my breath away in an instant. Isn't it cute how little faith you all have in family? The figure stepped forward into the dim light, revealing a sly grin that sent a shiver down my spine. It was my sister, but she wasn't alone. The air thickened around us, a confluence of emotions swirling in palpable chaos as I processed the image before me. It was my sister, looking as bewildered as I felt, but there was an unsettling edge to the joy that should have accompanied our reunion. Beside her stood a tall, enigmatic figure whose presence twisted my stomach into knots of anticipation and dread. Lila, Megan, Eliza, she said, her voice dripping with mockery. Look who I brought back home. The room fell into an anguished hush, and time seemed to stretch into an eternity as I absorbed the sight of my sister, me little sister, brought into this suffocating darkness by someone I couldn't understand. My heart felt like a pendulum swinging between shock and protectiveness, as if every beat was screaming to understand this uninvited chaos. Lila, you won't believe what I've figured out. Alina's eyes held a wild spark, but the tension radiating from their corner of the room told me that whatever revelations lay ahead would not be straightforward or kind. Why are you here? I whispered, my heart sinking as I tried to comprehend why she would come into this dark space that was already perilously veering out of control. What happened? Why did they bring you? Let her speak, my mother interjected, stepping forward as if to shield Alina from the tempest brewing around us. It's complicated, but she's not in danger. Alina has been with us the whole time. My heartbeat galloped in protest against the mounting confusion. With us? You mean you've all been together this whole time, and you didn't tell me? I shot a glance at Megan and Eliza, who bore the same look of bewilderment, their shock rendering them speechless. This isn't the time for blame, Alina shrieked, her voice laced with desperation as her eyes darted nervously between us. I'm here because I know something big. It's not just about us hiding. It's about them. About why we were taken. Who are they? Megan asked, her voice steady but edged with anxiety. And what do you mean you figured something out? The pall of darkness seemed to thicken around us, every passing second electrifying with potential danger. Alina took a step forward, her hands trembling slightly. They've been watching us. All of us. There are people involved. People who want to contain our family's secrets. A chill seeped into my bones. Alina's words echoed ominously. I felt like a deer caught in the relentless headlights of oncoming chaos, trapped between a past filled with sincerity and a present tangled with deceit. What secrets? I asked, my voice disproportionately calm against the rising tide of chaos. Alina's eyes glimmered with something sharp: determination, rebellion, or perhaps defiance. We were chosen for something. Something our parents never wanted us to realize. They tried to protect us, but it's too late. I've seen them. And they're coming. The memories of whispered conversations and furtive glances at the edges of my childhood rushed back, overshadowed by dread. You're not making any sense. I breathed, my heart racing as I sought clarity. If they're coming, then we need to go. We can't just know. My mother interrupted, taking a step toward me, her eyes wide with fear. We can't run from this. If we don't confront the truth now, it'll tear us apart. Alina shook her head, and I could see cracks forming in her bravado. We don't have time for confrontation, Mom. They'll come after us if we don't act fast. The sound of footsteps echoed once more from above, growing closer. A cold sweat dripped down my spine as I exchanged glances with Megan and Eliza, who mirrored my unspoken fears. Somewhere there were eyes on us, no longer cloaked in the shadows. Get inside, Alina urged, urgency pounding in her voice. We can't let them see us. As we all backed toward the cramped corners of the basement, the weight of Alina's revelation crashed over me. How could Wesablings united in fear and love tangled in something so sinister? I opened my mouth to ask another question, but a loud crash resonated from above, the finality punctuating the air with terror. Before I could comprehend what was happening, the door to the basement flung open, revealing a figure silhouetted against the harsh light from above. My breath caught in my throat as reality disintegrated in front of me. There, lingering in the light, was a face I had not seen in years. Surprise, it chuckled, a haunting familiarity behind its twisted smile. Looks like family reunions run in the blood. And as the shadow stepped forward, I felt the ground shift beneath our feet, a fight or flight impulse, rising within, a terrible harbinger of the truth that lay waiting ahead, ready to unravel everything we thought we knew. I stood frozen, the truth teetering on the brink of calamity. The figure before us twisted in silhouette against the alluring festivity of the light, but the shadows it cast were darker than anything I had known. My mind churned, racing to reconcile this ghost from my past with the reality that had upended my world just moments ago. Lucas? My voice broke as I uttered the name, disbelief contributing to the jagged edges of my wavering emotions. I had spent years reconstructing my life without him, only to have that fragile foundation rocked by the suddenness of his reappearance. Surprise indeed. The corners of Lucas's lips curled upward, revealing an unsettling blend of self-satisfaction and something more menacing. Didn't think I'd just fade away, did you? The space around us thickened with tension, my sisters and mother standing behind me like a barricade of uncertainty, each face a portrait of dread. Alina's hand tightened around the railing of the stairs, as if to ground herself against the approaching storm. "Why are you here, Lucas?" I demanded, stepping forward, the instinct to protect my family fueling my courage against the brittle edge of fear. "This is not a game. Oh, but it is," he replied smoothly, his voice smoother than silk yet laced with malice. "You've unwittingly inherited quite the mess, Lila. And look, the whole family is back together." The emphasis on the word family dripped with irony, sending chills rippling down my spine. Alina took a small step forward, her eyes ablaze with defiance meeting Lucas' gaze. "You don't belong here. We know what you did. You were part of it, part of everything that happened to us." Lucas waved a dismissive hand, chuckling softly. "You poor foolish child. You think you understand? It's much bigger than you'll ever comprehend." He leaned closer, and I could see the predatory glint in his eyes, a remnant of a shared past twisted now into something vile. "Your parents couldn't keep you safe forever. Secrets, Lila, secrets always find a way to seep out. Believe me, I'm here for a reason." A shroud of fear wrapped around me as the realization hit like ice water. His presence was a threat, not only to me but to the fragile unity of our family. He had come to disrupt, to impose chaos into our already shaken lives, and it made every muscle in my body tense. "Get out!" I shouted, echoing the plea of my sisters and mother's prayers pulsing through the room. "You have no right." "I have every right," he retorted sharply, a smirk threatening to fracture into a full grin. "While you've been playing house and avoiding the truth, I've been cleaning up the mess left behind by your electric family drama." "Enough." Megan stepped forward, her voice trembling yet resolute. "We will never let you manipulate us again. We've survived too much to let you back in." For a brief moment, our words hung in the air, a collective spirit of defiance. But Lucas' laughter echoed back, low and sardonic, dismissing our unity with an ease that made my stomach turn. "You think you can stand against the tide? The real players are already on the move, and you, my dear siblings, are just pawns. You are more connected to it than you know. Ask your mother. She's buried deeper in this than you could imagine." I turned to my mother in disbelief, searching her eyes for some hint of truth, begging for an explanation to bridge the growing chasm between us. Her face paled as she seemingly struggled for courage, her fingertips pressed over her lips as if to suppress a truth festering beneath the surface. "You were never meant to know, Lila," she whispered, a tremor coursing through her. "I was trying to protect you." "Protect us?" I felt the ground beneath me tremble, certainty beginning to crack like a fragile shell. "By keeping secrets? By letting him back into our lives?" "Lila," she began, but my rage overpowered any attempt at placation, an avalanche of emotion threatening to bury us all before I could respond. The sound of harsh footsteps echoed from above, interrupting the moment, reverberating like a countdown to calamity. Lucas' smirk faltered as I felt a flicker of unease. Within him, the awareness that he was no longer the puppet master in this horrifying play. "Too late for goodbyes, sister. It looks like our time is up," he sneered. "But remember, the truth is a fickle friend." As Lucas turned, I lunged, grasping for his arm, the instinct to not let him flee overwhelming. But as I grasped onto the atmosphere charged with dread, he shrugged me off effortlessly, starting to fade back into the shadows, laughter trailing behind him like a haunting ghost. "Prepare for the storm, Lila. And remember, you're woven deeper into this than you'll ever realize." A door slammed shut behind him with finality. In the choking silence, I felt the tears sting my eyes, and my heart raced with the realization that our worst fears had materialized in a single breath. "What does he mean, Mom?" I said, my voice cracking under the weight of our shared terror, turning desperately toward her. "What does he know that we don't?" The truth hung poised on the precipice of something magnificent and terrifying. A new wave of doubt and confusion flooded through me, a dark tapestry we had unwittingly woven together. And somewhere, as I searched her eyes for clarity among shadows cast long by our past, I knew that revelations awaited us on a horizon lined with more than just uncertainty. As the air settled in the wake of Lucas's departure, a deafening silence enveloped us like a shroud. My heart raced, reverberating with the weight of everything I had just witnessed and the gravity of his words. I felt as if the ground beneath me had cracked open, exposing raw vulnerabilities, fears, and unspoken truths that had long been buried. "Mom, please." My voice trembled with desperation as I reached for her. What does he mean? What truth is he talking about? The reality of the moment began to sink in, and I could see the flickering shadows of denial pass over her face, wrestle with the burgeoning dread that had taken root in all of us. We can't let this tear us apart, Megan interjected, her voice steady but strained. If there's anything we can do to face this together, we can't hold back. Eliza stood beside me, her small hand gripping mine tightly, a lifeline we both desperately needed. We were in this together. Whatever came next, we would face it side by side, just as sisters were meant to do. My mother's gaze drifted to Alina's, and for a moment understanding flickered between them. My heart sank further as I realized they shared a bond of secrecy, something tethered in the shadows of ambiguous choices. It's complicated, Mom finally whispered, the words heavy with exhaustion. Complicated? That's an understatement. I shot back, clutching onto the fleeting thread of hope that anchored me. You've kept us ignorant while allowing him to stir chaos from the edges of our lives. How could you? I never wanted this for you, she interjected, her voice rising with the surge of emotions threatening to engulf us all. Lila, please just listen. There's a legacy in our family that runs deeper than you realize. Protecting you from it was my only goal. Protecting us? Or controlling us? Alina's voice cut through the chaos, her tone defiant yet laced with fear. You think we're safer in ignorance? With every passing moment, I felt the myriad of emotions whirl through the room, weighing heavily yet mysteriously connecting us all in a thread that stretched back through the inexplicable years. Tell us the truth. Once and for all, I insisted. What's this legacy? What did Lucas mean when he called us pawns? At that moment my mother hesitated, a breath suspended in the charged air, and suddenly everything about this tangled mess transformed. I felt an innate desire to pull her back from the edge of whatever revelation was looming. If this was the truth, it should be mine to grapple with, not buried beneath generations of secrets. With palpable resolve, Mom finally looked us in the eyes, her expression softened by both the weight of her burden and the love shed wrapped around us like a shield. It all started decades ago, she began, her voice barely above a whisper, when our family became entwined with something bigger than ourselves. I could feel my heart pounding in tandem with her words, every revelation like pieces of a puzzle tumbling forth from a distant past. There was a pact forged with those who sought to control certain powers we had. Powers hidden beneath our very existence. What kind of powers? Eliza asked, her voice small in the vastness of the revelation. Powers tied to our emotional connections, our empathy, our understanding, our ability to reach across boundaries and heal. Her voice trembled slightly. It made us targets but also made us special. Lucas. He was part of that world, and he has always been a threat. Silence enveloped us once more, thick and heavy, pressing against our chests. I could barely breathe as the implications of her words seeped into my consciousness. Special, I echoed, retracing the contours of that word against the backdrop of our lives. Had we ever truly understood what that meant? He wanted to claim the power for himself, Mom continued, and to do that, he needed to destroy the core of our family. The connection we share, the love that sets us apart. A surge of warmth ignited in my chest, sparking defiance against the looming darkness. I turned to each of my sisters, weaving bonds forged not just from blood, but also from the shared understanding of our chaotic lives. We won't let him take that away. We won't let him drag us down. The fierce resoluteness of unity awakened the embers of strength within me, pushing aside the shadows of dread. I felt the weight of my connection to my family surge, like the grounding roots of a great oak tree, bending but not breaking in the face of a storm. Where do we go from here? I asked, my voice trembling but ignited with a sense of determination. We can face this, to uncover the truth and reclaim our lives. My mother's eyes sparkled with both fear and relief as she grasped my hands, the warmth of her touch grounding me. Together, we'll face whatever comes, with every ounce of strength we have, she vowed fiercely. Then Alina stepped forward, confidence radiating from her as she peered beyond the walls that had entangled us in fear. We are more than pawns. We are the dawn breaking through chaos. Together we'll figure this out. I refused to stand by and let him control my life any longer, and that moment, every ounce of uncertainty fell away, replaced by a profound bond stemming from years of unaddressed pain, ultimately anchoring us in this fierce decision to rise together. With that resolve coursing through my veins, I turned to my mother, nodding. Let's work together to fix this. Let's train. Let's prepare as a family. If we are truly special, we will harness that to reclaim our lives. As my mother breathed in, gathering the courage for what we would undoubtedly face together, I glanced at Megan, then Eliza. And immediately I could sense the shift. A wave of shared purpose wrapped around us like a blanket of solidarity. And in that moment I realized all the chaos, the confusion, and even the hurt we felt coiling around us had ultimately brought us to this place. We were about to confront a truth that no one was prepared for, a truth shaped not just by the bonds of blood but by the connections of the heart. When the door shook once more, our resolve coalesced. We would pull together as a unit, focusing not just on fighting against Lucas, but reclaiming our family's legacy, if only to embolden the resilience threaded amongst us. As I stood in that dimly lit space with the flickering shadows dancing around us, I breathed deeply, a fierce calm unfurling in my chest. No longer afraid, I whispered the words that would tether me to this courageous path. We embraced the truth as one. And just like that, the world seemed to bend, our hearts entwined, ready to face whatever storm awaited us on the horizon. Together we would break the cycle of fear, and together we would emerge transformed, stronger than the shadows that dared to loom. For we were not just siblings, we were a force to be reckoned with, a family ready to reclaim the light.